Hello, Deep Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, is the joy of being a live stream coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. If you're joining us anywhere other than twitch.tv/deepmindfulness, well, geez Louise, you're in the frickin' wrong place. Folks, great to see you. Glad you're here. Today is a very exciting day. Big news. We're going to be meditating today. We're going to be practicing a little bit on what some people call negative emotion, but we're going to deconstruct that as much as we possibly can. So folks, how's everyone doing? Where is everyone coming from? Where do we find you from? Brooklyn in the house. Hopefully folks are having a lovely Wednesday here. I'm very excited to be here. I've pulled out the old Gone hat, which I'm very happy to be sporting. It's been a while. Yes, indeed. Gene, what's up from Brooklyn? Also, nice. Nick, cool hat. The hat is back, exactly. Gothenburg office sounds interesting. Catch you in the replay. I see. Well, we're glad you're going to be back here soon. We'll have sometimes I try to think of a like replay mind. So folks who are watching this in the replay, I always think it's very interesting as people are trickling in here that if you're watching a video, it's always in the present moment for you. Whereas for me, it's also in the present moment, but somehow between the two is this weird, sort of technology. Anyway, I guess it's very confusing. I guess we're always in the present moment or something. Who knows? That's how I feel about it. Speaking of which, has anyone else seen Tenet? No spoilers allowed. I've seen it. It was so good. Very, very, very interesting. Very mind-bending. I think I remember being in the movie, and it was right after The Journey, so I was a little discombobulated. And I had this feeling of, this movie is so good, I think it's making me sick. And then I was like, is this the movie doing this? Because the movie has never done that before, but this is a pretty unique movie. So I just highly recommend it. It was so much fun to watch, and if you can see it in the theater, we saw it in a drive-in, so that was how it was safe. But if you can do that, highly, highly recommended. Nick here. Oh, you've seen it. The tinnitus, so loud, but was spectacular. Oh, was it? It was too loud in the theater. And we actually always bring earplugs to every theater we go to because it's so loud. At certain theaters, we feel like old people. We're like, oh, time for the earplugs. Pop them in. We're like, we can listen to the movie now. Yeah, it was, spectacular is like such a great way to describe it. Anyway, that's my take. Anyway, folks are piling in, popping in. Where are folks coming from? Love to hear where you're piling in from. And we're going to be making our own version of a time-related story. I won't give anything away in the fact that this is a replay, and maybe you're watching this not live. But for those watching it live right now, right here, what the heck? What's going on? Lacking in character development. Yeah, well, I haven't even thought about. I could think of some things that I would be like, I would change this and that. But that's me with everything I watch. I started watching Fargo again, the new Fargo recently, and I was like, and it's grown on me. It's grown on me. The first seasons were so good that I was like had very high standards for what another Fargo is supposed to look like. We could just talk about shows. I would be so stoked to just sit here and talk about shows for a long time. What's it called? I know I always zoom in on the negative too. I've been noticing that recently, and this is my new take. I think I've said this before on the stream, but I'll say it again. My tendency to zoom in on the negative, which is actually, I'm talking about in a very subtle way, like looking at things and sort of notice, like I have this lovely cup that we bought, Merkel and I, but the handle broke. And when I look at this cup, my mind fixates on this handle and these like sort of things, and like, how could I fix that? How could I make that look better? It's sort of annoying, this sort of whatever, or the mind will just look at things that aren't going well, this kind of thing. or it'll look at a person. This is another thing that I do. I'll look at a person and say, like, yeah, that person's cool and I like them, but there's this trait that I don't know if that's going to really, I think it's going to be not going to work out super well. We can't really be friends because, you know, they're overly X, Y, or Z, and the mind will just do this. And so it's just kind of running in this way. And my newest thing is it's an indication that the system feels like it is not safe. So judgment for me is, right now, I'm taking it as the system feeling like it is not safe, which is helpful because it makes me realize that it's a safety thing, not a change the world thing. It's an internal process. Okay, folks. So we're going to meditate for 25 minutes. I know it sounds unbelievable. If this is your first time meditating or your first time here, let us know. We have a special way of welcoming you, and then we will jump into the practice itself. Today we're going to be, I mentioned this, looking at what one might call negative emotions, and we're going to, as much as we can, deconstruct that. This is partially something that I did at the end of my journey where the emotions were intense and challenging, and then at some point something flipped and they were very satisfying, and the pain was not pain so much anymore. The pain was really actually kind of enjoyable. And I know that sounds crazy. I know it sounds weird to be like the pain was enjoyable, and by pain I mean like emotional challenge, difficulty, that kind of thing. But it actually was, and that's something that is possible in meditation, is to take even physical pain and transmute it into something which is satisfying. And sometimes it can just be like a transition, something that's very painful to something that's neutral. That's probably more common. But there's been a few times in my life where I've transitioned something that's very uncomfortable and transitioned it into something that's extremely pleasurable and, you know, really enjoyable in a certain way. And so we're going to be exploring that, exploring how we can make difficult emotion be not unpleasant, at least, which is good, because honestly most of our difficulties in the world come from difficult emotion. Oh, before we start, we're going to start in just a minute here. I'll be curious to talk to folks. I feel like I'm in a real like chatting mood today, so maybe I'll open up the maybe even either the Discord, or we'll open up the the Zoom if people want to pop on just to chat. I'm curious. I want to talk about the debate last night, which I saw, which was like, you know, if anyone's seen Tenet, I could easily imagine like, oh, that's what happened at the debate. It's like, yeah, that's so whatever. It's blah blah blah. So the point of it is, it was a mess, really mess, and like the people afterwards on the who are, you know, talking about it, the commentators were like, the debate has just ended, and that was easily the worst debate I've ever seen in my entire career of journalism. It's like, it was bad, man. It's really bad. But I'd be curious to talk about that and any other shows and stuff that's happening now that people are interested in. I just started watching the new season of Fargo, and interested to talk about old seasons. I don't want to spoil the new one for anybody, but Fargo is very, very good. Okay, but first we're going to meditate, and we'll meditate for 25 minutes. In that time, you're probably going to have the instinct to move. Now today, here's the key. There's a reason to not move the body in particular today, and there's a reason to move the body in particular today when you're sitting. So first, how do you sit still? The first key to sitting still is to arrange the body well. This does not mean the most comfortable position to begin with, because usually that means the back is arched and we're leaning against the back of a chair. This is going to mean sitting so the spine is balanced, not us pulling our spine straight up. That's never going to hold for very long. We want to find a way to balance the spine, balance the head on the spine. Typically for this to happen, the knees need to be lower than the hips. How's my demonstration? The knees are lower than the hips. These are knees lower than the hips, and that makes it possible for the lower spine to sort of just balance on that. That makes it possible for the upper spine, curving the other direction, to just balance on that, and then the head can balance there. So finding that nice comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. And we will begin in just a moment here. Thanks for joining, folks. Folks are popping in. Great to see you. We're going to meditate. If you're new to meditation, let me know, because I'll alter the meditation for you, specific for you. I'm talking to you. So let us know in the chat if you're new to meditation, and especially if it's your first time meditating. I feel like people don't tell us, but it's only your first time meditating once, so you might want to say something. And plus, I'll adjust the meditation so it's easier, or actually more fitting for you. I don't know if it'll be easier, but I think it'll make your time easier. Forgive me. I'm going to go silent for a minute because I have to cough quite a bit. Okay, we're back. So, finding a nice comfortable position that you can maintain for the duration of the sit. And we will begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths and just feeling the body rise and fall. Each time we begin a meditation, we begin with the momentum of all of the previous moments. One particularly challenging piece of momentum is the mind telling us we've had this experience before. We've felt the body breathing, so we don't need to look for details. We can treat it as generic or ordinary. But recognizing that this is our one and only chance in this lifetime to detect these particular breath sensations. To feel the body rising and falling in this moment. And if we can't do this, if we don't know how to do this, if we don't learn how, then we can't learn how to do it in any other moments. So this is the critical moment. And luckily we have infinite chances up to bat. So physically relaxing the body, relaxing the major muscle groups, the neck and shoulders, the upper torso, the belly and lower back, and the shoulders, arms and hands, the hips and knees, the calves and Achilles, and relaxing the feet. And then recognizing that there are micro muscles, tiny, tiny places where the muscle and the bone meet, the fascial layer. And as though we are letting go so deeply that if we kept going, the muscles would release from the bone, floating away. As if we let go deeply enough, this connective tissue would simply release. And taking a moment to take in the overall experience of the body. The mind is often pulled towards detail, but we're going to take an overall look, all of the body sensations together. And there's a way that we can hold the mind using awareness to get a general capture all body sensations in this particular moment, not worrying about the detail. Simply a soft collection of all. And taking a moment to appreciate how unlikely this is. What we're in contact with is a living human body-mind. And unfortunately, one day we will not have contact with this anymore. These sensations are the living expression of nature. And while our memories go back days, months, years, the life that is expressing itself right now in this body goes back billions and billions of years in an unbroken chain. And so we could choose to imagine this history, or we could choose to feel directly what billions of years of biological development feels like. So we can ask the body, what does this ancient wisdom, this ancient intelligence feel like? And if the mind answers with audio or visual material, Just ignoring that and soaking into the answers that come in the form of body sensation. And of course, at times the mind will drift, and this is natural. It's the nature of the mind to explore, so we simply come back. And by being interested in this particular moment, this gives the mind something to grab onto. If it's helpful, we could use a mental labeling strategy. Each time we notice the richness of the body's experience, especially as an overall category, all of the sensations in one large pool. In the mind, we could say the word feel. Soaking in, letting go, and beginning the process again. Training the mind that this word has a specific meaning instead of sensations it refers to. So in the mind it might sound something like feel, feel, feel. You get the idea. And if distraction arises, simply coming back again. Distraction is often simply the mind being interested in something else. So we simply be in the process of interest in the sensations of the body. And if we'd like to simply stay right here, continue with this practice, that's fine. If the rest of the instruction either doesn't work for us, or for any reason we'd like to return to just observing the body, that's fine. That's valuable. And if you'd like, you can follow as I add a small change. I'd like you to imagine that this is the first time you've ever detected human body sensations. And that evaluations like good or bad or even neutral are not part of your repertoire. You're visiting from a dimension where body sensations don't occur. So this is a first. I'm going to mention some words, sometimes associated with what we might ordinarily call difficult or even negative emotions. Notice if even the mention of that concept brings up certain sensations in the body. And if the body reads the sensation as negative or unwanted, we don't need to worry about the sensation. We want to look for the part of us that's making that reading. The part that is pushing against or reaching for something else. And soaking into the unique quality of the part that's resisting. So not that you would feel this now, but sometimes human bodies feel sadness. Looking for any part of your experience that resists that sensation or even that idea. And just accepting the resistance. Of course, a human body might resist. That's natural. And if you can, if it's available, soaking into and even enjoying that resistance. Noticing how unique and particular it is. Sometimes human bodies feel anxiety. A kind of activity that seems to indicate that something is wrong. That by speeding up the body systems, by introducing adrenaline, this will somehow solve a problem. In this case, we're less worried about anxiety, less concerned with the emotion itself than this sense of a need. Anxiety often feels like it's needed. So still attending to all of the body sensations and simply noticing the unique quality of this need if it happens to be arising. And often with difficult emotions, the system will shrink around them, making it seem as though this is the only sensation, or at least the most important one. So it's part of our job to detect this need, detect any resistance, or even the emotion itself within the larger field of body sensations. Or perhaps even the larger field of all sensations. And if we do notice some area in the body that our body-mind is reading as negative or unwanted, I'd like us to use a specific phrase exploring that sensation. And the phrase is, "Isn't it strange that the body reads this as so negative, this particular sensation?" And explore that aspect. Often when something is unpleasant, the unconscious mind reads it as a highly negative experience, when often it's simply just slightly unpleasant, or even just a slight tension. Isn't it strange that the body reads this as so negative? Knowing that if we find any of this overwhelming, it's okay to move. It's okay to pause or stop. And for a moment, letting go of any technique or any particular process. Once again, simply knowing the overall experience of the body, various pressures and movements, letting this be our first experience of these sensations, knowing that this is our one chance in this lifetime to detect these particular sensations. And staying in stillness, staying with the practice. We'll end the formal meditation when the bell goes silent. Notice if hearing these words produces emotion or preparation, energy in the body. And simply using the same process, just feeling that experience among all of the other sensations. And as we stay in stillness, allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes, eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point as they fully open. Letting the openness of a visual experience, all of this extra data, be a space where we can expand awareness, have a larger container of experiencing that includes the body and seeing. Recognizing the unique constellation of senses that's occurring now. Recognizing how strange this is, this unbroken chain of biological life, billions of years of evolutionary technology expressing itself in this particular moment. In the way that life can express itself as a strange sea creature or an exotic bird. Observing it express itself in the form of human seeing, human body sensation, human hearing. And if there's any sense of awe or wonder or peace, knowing that this too is an expression of the same force. And in this way, allowing this particular moment to be the great teacher that shows us how we might bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay, so making any adjustments you need to allow the body to be comfortable. I'm always surprised when I realize how good stretching feels. I'm like, oh yeah, stretching is such a pleasant body sensation. It's crazy. Someone once pointed out how interesting it is that all the things that we physically have to do every day, sleeping, using the washroom, eating, stretching, etc., all feel extremely good. And like how that's it's interesting. Their argument was that that's an argument for God, which was funny at the time. Not that I think people shouldn't believe what they believe, whatever, but more that it's actually, in my mind, an excellent argument for biological, development. That if it feels really good to exist we're more likely to pass on genetic material. But either way, the point is there's many, many parts of existing that feel excellent. So now is the point at which we chit-chat like kitty cats. So what was that experience like? What happened and what do you like now? Okay, here. That's the report hungry dog. It lives on reports. It survives on nothing but reports, meditation reports. And if you don't feed the report hungry dog, man, that's just cruel. That's just cruel. And then I get in trouble because, there's only so many meditation reports that I can feed that dog. So, be kind is what I'm saying. So folks, what was that experience like? You can tippy type that thing, or if you want, you can jump into the Zoom. Let me know if you're jumping onto Zoom and I will launch it, because we don't launch until someone squanch. What was that experience like? Any questions, difficulties, challenges, whatever arose? And we'll go from there. And if people want to talk about media or the debate, just shoot, fire away. I realize, can I just put pictures in the stream? There's a few memes that I thought were pretty good. I'll just show you. I think I have my phone. I just have them on there. So these are my two favorite images from the memes that came out of the debate. I don't know if you can read this, or if it's going to be fuzzy if you get any closer. I'll read it to you. It's a picture of Bain, and it says, "You think?" How does he talk? "You think?" That's pretty good, Bain. "You think the suburbs are your ally? You merely adopted the suburbs. I was born in them, molded by them." Which, if you haven't seen the debate, that doesn't make any sense. But Trump pulled out his thing that was like, the suburbs are going to be murdered by Joe Biden. And Joe Biden was like, he wouldn't know the suburbs unless he took a wrong turn, which he didn't have a lot of zingers, but that was a good zinger. And anyway, here's another one. There's also my favorite. And it just says, moderator, Vice President, you have 2 minutes of uninterrupted talking time starting now. And then it says Trump, and it says, where is this? Is for me? That's what it was like. It was really interesting because it's like it was a person who never gets told what to do, and in a group where, in a situation where he has to like cooperate, and it was just like a complete disaster. Anyway, okay, folks. So tell me what that was like. If you don't want to, that's fine. No one's in trouble. I'm not seeing stuff pop up. I don't think anyone's popping on Zoom. I can check, but I don't think so. And listen, no pressure. If people don't want to do reports, I'm not going to keep you in meditation detention all day. Yeah, exactly. That's what it seemed like. It's fun. I know a bunch of people didn't watch I was even thinking, I was like, should I even watch this thing? It just seems like so nerve-wracking and whatever beforehand. I was like, no, I feel like I should. I really want to see sort of what happens. And it ended up that it was just a mess. It was a mess. Yeah. It was sort of like, it was very 2020. It was like, what the hell was that? Okay. All right. So folks, it seems like people don't want to do reports. I'm not going to keep you in jail, meditation jail here. I could chat all day about various things I've seen and things that I find interesting, but without further provocation, I will not. So I'll give you another second here, because usually what happens is I'm like, all right, okay, well, we'll call it. And then like 10 reports show up. So don't have much to report today. I found the meditation easy to follow, but my jaw is a bit sore today, so it was hard for me to view the body sensation as not being negative. Well, here's what we did today is while basically the system is going to read certain things as negative, and we shouldn't try to stop it from doing that. We do want to sort of take away the supporting structures that make that negative experience habits, like basically take away what's the thing I'm thinking of, like how, like basically take away the gears that makes the clock run. So we're not like, don't be gears. We're just saying maybe we'll just disengage these gears a little bit, because the net result of this clock running is painful, is more suffering. So just noticing that the system is reading this as negative is part of the experience. So even if the jaw is like, firing off in negative, or a way that feels negative, we can just look at either the system resisting, or what was the other one? We looked at the system resisting, or the sense of a need for something to be different, which is often a driving force of that. So interesting. 2020 CL says, I had a late start, but loved the experience of the body's technology. Then I had a call. Excellent. Well, there you go. I'm glad that was enjoyable. I find that very enjoyable. That is very satisfying for me. Separating the feeling of tension from the interpretation of negative was very useful. Excellent. I'm very glad. And just to report, I mentioned this earlier, but in my recent psychedelic journey, there was, of course, your concentration and your meditation skills, can shoot through the roof in situations like that. But it's built on your general skill, that kind of thing. So, but at some point I was really able to metabolize the pain into being very, very, very pleasant. And it wasn't like, I'm on drugs, everything is pleasant. It really felt like I was using meditation and finding the part of it that felt pleasant. And the concentration was enough that I could find that in there. And really by soaking into that, the pleasantness sort of spread out, and that became predominant. I've had that a couple times, outside of some hallucinogenic, process, but that was the general shape of that. So I thought that was interesting. I feel like I keep having to return to that over and over. Yeah, the system is hardwired to, hardwired in a way that is not going to make us feel satisfied. That's sort of the primary thesis of Buddhism, that the system without intervention is wired in a way that's going to make us particularly unhappy. So it's part of our job to repetitively, over and over and over again, show the system a direction that it could go, where we could be more fulfilled. And this is by definition, once the system defaults there through repetition, we call that stream entry. I'll be more specific that stream entry, Raquel and I sat there for hours, like coming up with how we would define stream entry, because people ask exactly, and we had a nice clean definition, which I'm forgetting in this moment. So it's when the system defaults to deconstructing the mechanisms of suffering, and has a tendency towards awe at the splendor of existing. And it does that by default. How does it do that? It does that by effectively, I was talking to somebody recently about this, and effectively it's changing the scale of our perspective. And the scale is, or the sort of, I'll say the scale. The scale is now based around equanimity. We have a new follow here from Artie Casadio. Welcome. Very nice to have you here. Thank you so much for following. Great to see you. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Nice to have you with us. Let's see. So that's our definition. So when the system defaults at deconstructing the mechanisms of suffering, and is prone towards, or has a tendency towards, the splendor of existing, that is what we'd call stream entry. Let's see. 2020 CL says, so basically the body was a cloud of sensations, which I never experienced as a non-meditator. That's part of what it is that the mind will tell us the body is this shape and it sort of functions this way, and it's very functional. That's great. And if you just soak into the sensations of the body, it becomes much more of sort of like a a smear or like a pool of sensations, and any one sensation has a very hard time taking over and filling our entire view, because there's so many other sensations, and the context makes it much easier. The metaphor the Buddha used was, if you try to drink a cup with a teaspoon of salt, it's undrinkable. If you put that same teaspoon of salt in a lake, you can't even tell that it's there. So part of it is opening up this lake, which is basically, we could talk about it as awareness, opening awareness rather than using attention. And when we have pain and overwhelm, the mind shrinks down to the size of the pain, and the pain increases, so it feels like it's just insane. We can't take it. I can't take it. That's basically the basic structure of overwhelm. And I think what it is when overwhelm exceeds the size of the container of experiencing, then it just feels like it's like, not only is it everywhere in here, but everywhere I look elsewhere, it is everywhere. And the mind views it as being everywhere. Artie Casadio says, glad to have found you. Was hoping to find a talk like this today. Excellent. Well, I'm very glad you're here. Very glad you're here indeed. And love to practice with you, and love to meditate a little bit. P.S. Artie, Fridays, we call them Freaky Friday, is when we guide meditations based on your requests. So if you happen to be here Friday, that means that you can just give some suggestions. I have this kind of experience, some stress here, or frustration with my partner, or anything at all in the world, and we will create a meditation for you and the other folks who are here. It's often really fun because people have these very different pieces, and I have to figure out which set of tools or which constellation of pieces will actually meet a bunch of these different needs. Yes, welcome. I forgot, we have our welcome tradition here. Welcome. To throw some emojis in the chat, folks, for our friend Artie, who's joining us for the very first time. Thank you for coming. Surprise visit. It is lovely to see you. Thank you, thank you. We're very glad that you're here. And absolutely fun times for all. Excellent. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so P.S. What is it? Okay, so we'll be back here Friday. Friday is Freaky Friday, so we're going to make up meditations based on your needs, your interests, your curiosities. And before we go, I have a little birthday wish for you. What is that birthday wish? The birthday wish is this: that in this particular moment, right now, as you're looking around, you can tune back into this experience of the biological sort of expression of life as it's expressing itself. I love tuning into the fact that this momentum is much bigger than all of my problems. This momentum is this force that's been moving through time for billions of years, which I can barely conceive of, let alone know experientially, but I can know the result of billions of years of development, which is, isn't that a curious question? What would billions of years of biological development look like? Well, the answer is here. This is what it would look like. So take a look. And right here in this moment, what would billions of years of biological evolutionary technology sound like? Well, it sounds like this. It sounds like some lovely music and the sound of some person yakking at you. Oh, it's your birthday on Saturday. Lovely, CL. Nice to have you. Happy birthday. So my wish for you is in this moment to see, hear, and feel the expression of a biological mechanism, recognizing that things we read as negative, while the body-mind might read them as a negative, they're not negative in their nature. They're simply other sensations. And the way that we learn this skill is to recognize that all of our sensations are neutral in this way. So whatever's happening right now, recognizing it as not negative, but simply a sensation you're experiencing right now. And enjoying the luxury of this. This is the most luxurious experience one could have. It's not only is it all of the things we might experience as luxurious, it's our ability to feel luxury. Our ability to feel joy and happiness and interest is all contained here in this particular experience, this biological expression. We're very lucky We might have been born or created into some biological unit that cannot feel awe or happiness, doesn't even have the capacity to explore human interest or play games with friends. I'm looking at a houseplant, so being thankful that we're not a houseplant, or at least that we have the opportunity to have richer experiences. And in this way, just plugging into the possibility that we can bring this practice, this interest, this curiosity into every aspect of our life. So this is my wish for you today. As always, folks, practice well. Be kind to each other. Take care. Have fun, and we'll see you very